Ah, Socksville, a town as quaint as a button, as charming as a hand-knitted scarf. Life here was usually as peaceful as a freshly folded pile of laundry. The sun beamed, the birds chirped, and the residents went about their days, their feet snugly clad in socks of all shapes and sizes. Yes, in Socksville, socks weren't just a piece of clothing. They were a way of life. But beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary town, a mystery brewed. Socks had a peculiar habit of disappearing. One minute they were there, nestled alongside their partner in the laundry basket, and the next, poof, vanished without a trace. Theories abounded, of course. Some whispered of mischievous sock goblins, while others blamed extra-dimensional laundry chutes.
Indeed, Sockson, indeed. No sock shall vanish on our watch. Enter Detective Sockson. A man of singular purpose, with a mind as sharp as a sewing needle, and a passion for unraveling mysteries that could only be rivaled by his love for a well-darned sock. When news of the escalating sock disappearances reached his ears, I knew I had to take action.
Detective Sockson, with Socko perched upon his shoulder, surveyed the scene before him. The Socksville laundromat, usually a place of humming tranquility, buzzed with an unusual air of anticipation. It was, after all, Laundry Day in Socksville, a day when the missing sock phenomenon seemed to reach its peak. Curious, very curious, I murmured, stroking my chin thoughtfully.
Indeed, Sockson. One can practically smell the intrigue.
Sockson's gaze swept across the room, taking in every detail. He observed the patrons, their faces etched with a mixture of hope and trepidation as they loaded their mismatched socks into the rumbling machines. His attention, however, was drawn to the heart of the operation, the washing machines themselves.
Now then, my mechanical friends, I announced, addressing the washing machines with a theatrical flourish.
Out with it, you whirring wonders. Confess your crimes against sock kind.
The laundromat patrons, momentarily distracted from their laundry woes, watched with a mix of amusement and curiosity.
Tell me, old boy, I began, peering intently at the machine's control panel. What secrets do you hold within your metallic belly? Where do the missing socks go?
The washing machine, of course, remained silent, its only response a rhythmic churning as it continued its cycle.
Aha, I knew it. You're not as innocent as you seem, are you?
Sockson, old boy, are you sure about this? These machines can be a shifty bunch, but surely they wouldn't.
Had Detective Sockson finally cracked the case? With a dramatic flourish, Sockson threw open the lid of the washing machine, but as he peered into the heart of the machine, he found nothing. Disappointment washed over him like a cold rinse cycle.
Don't lose heart, Sockson. There's more to this than meets the eye, I'm sure of it.
Suddenly, a faint scent tickled his nostrils, a peculiar aroma both familiar and foreign, like freshly mown grass mixed with a hint of adventure. Sockson inhaled deeply, his senses on high alert. This was no ordinary smell. This was the scent of a clue. He closed his eyes, allowing the scent to guide him. He weaved between laundry baskets, navigated past startled patrons, his nose leading the way, and then he saw it. A faint trail of something leading towards the back of the laundromat. This lint was a vibrant tapestry of colours and textures, a miniature rainbow of threads and fibres. And at the very end of the trail he saw it, a single sock lying abandoned on the floor, its mate nowhere in sight.
By Jove, Socko, it's alive.
Heavens to Betsy, Sockson, we've stumbled upon something extraordinary.
The single sock in Detective Sockson's hand vibrated with unexpected energy. The hum intensified, and before the astonished detective could react, the sock leaped from his grasp. It bounced once, then twice, a blur of vibrant colours against the dull backdrop of the laundromat. The laundromat patrons, initially startled by the sock's sudden leap, began to murmur amongst themselves, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and fascination. The rogue sock, a whirlwind of energy, zipped across the linoleum floor, dodging startled feet and stray laundry baskets with surprising agility. Sockson, his instincts kicking in, snapped out of his momentary stupor. "Come back here, you mischievous hosiery!" he boomed, giving chase.
This is absolute madness, Socko.
Hold on tight, Sockson. It's like a socknado in here.
As if sensing a kindred spirit's rebellion, other socks in the laundromat, until now innocently tumbling in their respective machines, began to stir. One by one, they leaped from their soapy confines, joining the original escapee in a riot of colours and textures. The laundromat, once a haven of domesticity, transformed into a chaotic dance floor of rogue hosiery. Argyle's socks pirouetted through the air, their diamond patterns flashing. Striped socks zipped across the floor like miniature race cars, leaving trails of lint in their wake. The laundromat patrons, caught in the crossfire of this unexpected uprising, shrieked and ducked for cover.
They're heading for the back, Socko. We have to cut them off at the pass.
To the back door, Sockson. Don't let them escape.
The lead sock, the instigator of this grand escape, seemed to have a plan. It weaved through the chaos, a beacon of vibrant colours, leading the pack of rogue socks towards the back of the laundromat. The back door, propped open for ventilation, offered a tantalising glimpse of freedom. Sockson, his keen mind quickly deciphering the escape route, adjusted his course. With surprising agility, he navigated the obstacle course of rogue socks and bewildered patrons, his eyes fixed on the prize.
The jig is up, my fine, fibrous friends.
The lead sock, followed by its colourful entourage, reached the back door. Freedom, it seemed, was within their grasp. The laundromat patrons, herded into a corner by the rogue hosiery, watched with a mix of awe and apprehension. Just as the first sock was about to cross the threshold, a figure emerged from the outside, blocking their path. It was Detective Sockson, his trench coat billowing dramatically, his trusty magnifying glass glinting in the afternoon sun. The runaway socks, momentarily surprised by this unexpected turn of events, screeched to a halt. They huddled together, a vibrant, mismatched mob, their escape thwarted. A hush fell over the alleyway, the earlier chaos replaced by an unexpected stillness. The air crackled with anticipation as Detective Sockson, his imposing figure framed by the doorway, stared down at the huddled group of socks. The lead sock, its vibrant colours strangely defiant, met his gaze without flinching. For a moment, Sockson said nothing. He simply observed the socks, his keen mind working, piecing together the puzzle. "Well now, perhaps you'd care to explain yourselves. What's all this about, eh?"
Go on, I'm listening.
Detective Sockson, the lead sock, began, its voice surprisingly clear and articulate for a piece of hosiery. "We meant no disrespect. We didn't mean to cause any trouble. It's just that, well, we're tired," the sock continued, its voice filled with a weariness that resonated with the others. "Tired of being cooped up in those stuffy drawers, always in the dark, always waiting. We want to experience the world, to feel the grass between our toes, to dance in the wind." The other socks nodded in fervent agreement, their movements conveying a longing for freedom and adventure that transcended words. Sockson, listening intently, couldn't help but feel a twinge of sympathy for these yearning socks. He, too, had once felt the allure of the unknown, the desire to break free from the confines of convention. "We're not just socks, Detective," the lead sock continued, its voice filled with a quiet dignity.
Well, I must say, you've presented a rather compelling argument. Perhaps it's time we in Socksville re-evaluated our relationship with hosiery.
They have a point, Sockson. Don't they deserve a chance to be free, to find their purpose?
Detective Sockson, a man not easily swayed by sentimentality, found himself unexpectedly moved by the sock's impassioned speech. He had always prided himself on his logic, his ability to detach himself from emotion, but there was something about the sheer earnestness in that little sock's voice that chipped away at his usually stoic facade. Even Socko, usually the embodiment of playful banter, seemed to sense the gravity of the situation. He nudged Sockson's cheek gently with his stitched arm, his button eyes shining with empathy. The other socks, sensing a shift in the air, a change in the detective's demeanour, held their breath. They had taken a chance, poured out their hearts, and now their fate rested in the hands of this imposing figure who had once seemed so determined to apprehend them.
From this day forward, Sockson declared, his voice ringing with newfound conviction, let it be known throughout Socksville that socks are not mere garments, but individuals deserving of respect and, dare I say, a bit of adventure.
A collective gasp, followed by a wave of relief, swept through the alleyway as the socks realized the implications of Sockson's words. Their gamble had paid off. They had been heard. Their voices, though small and seemingly insignificant, had managed to penetrate the heart of a mystery and touch the soul of a detective. And with those words, a wave of joyous celebration erupted in the alleyway. News of the sock revolution spread through Socksville like wildfire, carried on a whisper of wind and the rustling of colourful threads. The very air seemed to crackle with a newfound energy, a sense of playful rebellion that had long been dormant beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary town. Gone were the days of matching socks tucked neatly away in drawers, their individuality stifled by convention. The residents of Socksville, inspired by the courage of those brave runaway socks, embraced the mismatch, celebrating the unique personality of each and every piece of hosiery. Children, their faces lit up with mischievous glee, rummaged through their sock drawers, eager to create the most outlandish and mismatched pairs imaginable. Stripes mingled with polka dots. Argyle met Paisley in a riot of colours and textures. Even the eldest residents, their memories filled with tales of a more conservative Socksville, couldn't help but be swept up in the wave of change. They gathered in the town square, their knitting needles clicking rhythmically as they collaborated on a giant multicoloured sock, a testament to the town's newfound appreciation for individuality.
Socko the sock puppet, his button eyes shining with pride, perched on his partner's shoulder, waving enthusiastically at the cheering crowds. Leading the parade, riding atop a vintage convertible adorned with a banner that read, "Embrace the Mismatch," was none other than Detective Sockson himself.
To commemorate this momentous shift in perspective, the townsfolk organized a grand parade, a celebration of sock diversity unlike any the world had ever seen. The streets of Socksville transformed into a sea of color and movement as residents, their feet adorned in the most gloriously mismatched socks imaginable, marched alongside their hosiery brethren. Floats adorned with giant socks, each showcasing a different pattern or style, rolled through the streets, their occupants tossing confetti and miniature socks to the cheering crowds. Music filled the air, a lively polka punctuated by the rhythmic thumping of a washing machine repurposed as a percussion instrument. Children, their faces painted with colourful stripes and polka dots, raced alongside the parade, their mismatched socks a blur of colour, their laughter echoing through the streets. It was a day for casting aside inhibitions, for celebrating the joy of being unique, of standing out from the crowd. The sock revolution extended far beyond the parade route. Shop windows that once showcased perfectly matched pairs were now transformed into vibrant displays of mismatched socks, each one a testament to the beauty of individuality. Tailors who had once specialised in mending sock holes now offered custom sock mismatching services, helping residents find the perfect combination of colour and pattern to express their unique personalities. The Socksville Gazette, the local newspaper, featured a bold headline proclaiming, "Socksville embraces the mismatch." Articles celebrated the town's newfound appreciation for diversity, highlighting the positive impact this shift in perspective had had on the community. And in the town square, a community bulletin board that had once been a repository for lost pet notices and lawn care services was now overflowing with announcements for sock-themed events and activities. Sock puppet-making workshops, mismatched sock swap meets, even a sock-themed film festival. Socksville had truly embraced the spirit of the mismatch. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the town, Socksville shimmered with a newfound vibrancy. The streets, once predictable and monochromatic, were now a kaleidoscope of colour and pattern, a testament to the town's collective embrace of individuality. The giant sock, a symbol of unity and acceptance, hung proudly in the town square, its mismatched colours reflecting the diversity of the community it represented. The air buzzed with the sound of laughter and conversation as residents, their feet comfortably clad in their favourite mismatched pairs, gathered in the streets, sharing stories and celebrating their newfound freedom. And high above it all, perched atop the weather vane of the tallest building in town, a single brightly coloured sock fluttered in the breeze, a beacon of individuality against the setting sun. It was a reminder that even the smallest voice, the most seemingly insignificant detail, can spark a revolution, a testament to the power of embracing the mismatch, of celebrating the beauty of being unique. For in Socksville, the mystery of the missing socks had been solved, not by logic or deduction, but by the power of acceptance, the joy of individuality, and the transformative magic of a little bit of sock love.
And so, my dear residents of Socksville, boomed Detective Sockson, his voice ringing out across the bustling town square, we've reached the bottom of this most peculiar case. The mystery of the missing socks, the bane of laundry baskets, and the source of countless whispered theories has been solved not with fingerprints or footprints, but with an open mind and a touch of whimsy.
Indeed, Sockson. It seems our sock-loving culprits weren't disappearing at all, but merely yearning for a bit of freedom. A touch of the extraordinary, he chirped, eliciting giggles from the children in the crowd. The townsfolk, their faces alight with amusement and understanding, glanced around at the transformed Socksville. Gone were the days of drab uniformity, replaced by a vibrant tapestry of color and individuality. Socks, once relegated to the shadows of drawers and the depths of laundry baskets, were now celebrated as symbols of self-expression and joyful rebellion. The answer, as it so often does, lay not in the shadows but in the bright, unexpected corners of life. The missing socks, far from being victims of circumstance, had become agents of change, their silent protest sparking a revolution that had swept through the town like a breath of fresh air.
The town square, once a place of quiet routine, thrummed with life, the air alive with music and laughter. Townsfolk of all ages, their feet adorned in a kaleidoscope of mismatched socks, danced with abandon, their differences celebrated rather than concealed. Children, their imaginations ignited by the spirit of the day, challenged each other to create the most outlandish sock pairings, their laughter echoing through the square. Old Mrs. Fitzwilliam, her knitting needles clicking rhythmically, crafted a pair of mismatched socks for Mayor Bumbleberg, a mischievous twinkle in her eye. Even Mayor Bumbleberg, a man known for his strict adherence to tradition, couldn't resist the infectious joy of the occasion. He surveyed the scene, his initial apprehension giving way to a wide, genuine smile as he admired his new mismatched socks, one striped, one polka-dotted, a gift from Mrs. Fitzwilliam herself. Detective Sockson, observing the scene with quiet satisfaction, allowed himself a small, knowing smile. The case of the missing socks, though unconventional, had reminded him of the power of perspective, the importance of embracing the unexpected. Sometimes, he mused, the greatest mysteries led to the most heartwarming discoveries.
As the stars began to twinkle above Socksville, casting a soft glow on the festivities below, Detective Sockson found himself surrounded by a group of wide-eyed children, eager to hear the tale of the missing socks. He settled down on a nearby bench, Socko perched upon his knee, and began to recount the adventure, his voice warm and engaging.
But Detective Sockson piped up a little girl with pigtails and mismatched striped socks. Do you think the socks will ever disappear again? Will they get bored with Socksville and run away to the Socky Mountains?
Sockson chuckled softly, patting the little girl's hand reassuringly. Ah, my dear, that's the beauty of it all. In Socksville, we've learned to embrace the unknown, to celebrate the possibility of adventure. So, while we may never know for certain where those mischievous socks might wander, one thing's for sure, Sockson continued, his voice filled with warmth, the spirit of individuality, the joy of the mismatch, that's something that will never disappear from Socksville. It's woven into the very fabric of our town, as colourful and enduring as a well-loved pair of mismatched socks. And so, dear listener, the tale of the great Socksville mystery concludes not with a definitive answer, but with an invitation. An invitation to embrace the unexpected, to celebrate the beauty of difference, and to never underestimate the power of a little bit of sock magic.